I was putting away groceries on a Thursday afternoon when I heard my son Daniel's voice coming from the living room where I'd left him talking on the phone. And through the open doorway, I heard him say in a tired, defeated tone, "I know, Amanda, I know. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is time to start looking at facilities." And my hands froze on the can of soup I was holding because I understood immediately what facilities meant. Nursing homes, assisted living, places where old people go when their families decide they can't take care of them anymore. And I stood perfectly still in my kitchen, listening as Amanda's voice came through the phone speaker, sharp and insistent, though I couldn't make out her exact words. And Daniel responded, "She forgot to turn off the stove again last week, and yesterday she called me twice asking the same question, like she didn't remember the first conversation. And you're right that it's getting worse." Except none of that was true. I hadn't forgotten to turn off the stove. I hadn't called him twice with the same question. But Daniel was saying these things like they were facts, like his wife had convinced him his mother was deteriorating, becoming incompetent, becoming dangerous to herself. I carefully set down the soup can because my hands were shaking so badly I was afraid I'd drop it, and I felt something inside me crack open. Not anger, not even betrayal yet, just a deep, crushing sadness and a fear so profound it made my chest tight, because I understood in that moment that my daughter-in-law had been systematically building a case against me, painting me as confused and forgetful and unsafe. And my own son believed her, and now they were discussing taking away the one thing I had left, my independence, my home, my right to live my own life in the house where I'd raised my children and buried my husband and built 47 years of memories. My name is Ann Williams, and I'm 72 years old. I live alone in Charleston, South Carolina, in the house my husband Thomas and I bought when we were newlyweds. The house where we raised our 2 sons, the house where Thomas died 6 years ago after a long battle with heart disease. Since Thomas died, I've been managing on my own. I'm healthy for my age. I take medication for high blood pressure and arthritis, but nothing serious. I drive, I grocery shop, I keep my house clean, I volunteer at church, I have friends. I'm not an invalid. I'm not incompetent, or at least I hadn't thought I was. My son Daniel is 46, married to Amanda for 8 years with 2 teenage children. He lives about 20 minutes away and used to visit weekly, stopping by for coffee, checking on the house, just spending time together. But over the past few months, something had changed. Daniel's visits became less frequent, more perfunctory. When he did come by, he'd ask pointed questions. "Mom, did you remember to take your medication today? Are you sure you paid the electric bill? When was the last time you drove somewhere?" The questions felt patronizing, like he was checking up on a child rather than having a conversation with his mother. But I dismissed it as him being concerned, being a good son. Now, standing in my kitchen overhearing him discuss putting me in a nursing home, I realized those questions hadn't been concern. They'd been assessment. He'd been looking for signs of incompetence, cataloging my supposed failures, building evidence that I couldn't live alone. And Amanda had been feeding him that evidence. If you've ever faced the possibility of losing your independence, of having your children decide you're no longer capable of managing your own life, you know the particular terror I felt. It's not just losing your home. It's losing your autonomy, your dignity, your sense of self. It's being told that you're no longer trusted to make your own decisions. Daniel came into the kitchen a few minutes later. His phone call ended. He looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before, pity mixed with resignation. "Mom, we need to talk. I heard you on the phone. You're thinking about putting me in a nursing home." He looked uncomfortable. "We're thinking about options. Amanda and I are worried about you living alone." "Why? What have I done that makes you think I can't live alone?" "Mom, you've been forgetting things, important things. Last week, you left the stove on." "Daniel, I did not leave the stove on. That never happened." "Amanda came by to drop off some things and found it on. You'd made tea and walked away, leaving the burner going." "That's not true." I wasn't even home last week when Amanda came by. I was at my doctor's appointment, remember? I told you about it. Daniel looked uncertain. Are you sure? Because Amanda said, Amanda is lying. Daniel, I don't know why, but your wife has been making things up about me. Mom, she's not making things up. She's concerned. We're both concerned. You've been calling me multiple times with the same questions. You've been confused about dates and appointments. When? When have I done any of that? Last Tuesday, you called me 3 times asking what time I was coming over. Daniel, I called you once that day, once, to confirm you were coming at 2 o'clock like we'd planned. I have the phone records if you want to see them. He looked frustrated. Mom, I think you're not remembering these things. That's part of the problem. When people start having memory issues, they often don't realize it. The dismissal in his voice, the certainty that he was right and I was confused, cut deeper than anything else. So you've decided I have memory issues based on what? Things Amanda told you that aren't true? It's not just Amanda. Mom, you're 72. It's natural for things to decline as we age. There's no shame in needing help. I don't need help. I'm managing fine. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're struggling and too proud to admit it. After Daniel left, I sat in my quiet house and cried. Not angry tears, despairing tears, because my son believed I was losing my mind, losing my capabilities, becoming a danger to myself, and nothing I said would convince him otherwise. For the first time in my 72 years, I felt truly old, not just in body, but in the way the world saw me. I'd become someone to be managed, monitored, moved into a facility for my own good. Over the next few days, I replayed every interaction I'd had with Daniel and Amanda over the past months, trying to understand when this had started. I remembered Amanda visiting about 3 months ago. She'd made a point of commenting that my house was getting to be a lot for you to manage. I disagreed. My house was clean and well-maintained. A few weeks later, Daniel had asked if I'd been having trouble with my medications. I'd said no, but he'd seemed skeptical, as if someone had told him I was confused about them. Then there was the incident Amanda had mentioned about the stove. I distinctly remembered that day. I'd been at a doctor's appointment for my routine checkup. Amanda had supposedly stopped by and found the stove on. But if I wasn't home, how could I have left it on? Unless Amanda had turned it on herself. The thought seemed paranoid, but the more I considered it, the more sense it made. Amanda had been creating evidence of my incompetence. But why? I called my younger son Marcus in Atlanta. Marcus, I need to talk to you about something serious. Daniel and Amanda are discussing putting me in a nursing home. What? Why would they do that? They think I'm becoming incompetent, that I'm forgetting things, leaving appliances on, calling repeatedly with the same questions. But Marcus, none of it's true. I think Amanda has been making things up. That's a serious accusation, Mama. I know, but Daniel believes things about me that never happened. Someone is feeding him false information. What do you want me to do? Come visit. Soon. I need someone who'll actually listen to me instead of treating me like I'm senile. Marcus drove down from Atlanta that weekend. He spent 2 days with me, observing my daily routines, talking to me, checking my house. Mama, you're completely fine. Your house is clean. Your medications are organized. You're sharp as ever. I don't understand where Daniel is getting this idea that you're declining. From Amanda. She's been lying to him. But why would she lie about something like this? I don't know, but Marcus, I'm scared. If Daniel decides I'm incompetent, he could try to get power of attorney, could force me into a facility. I could lose everything. Marcus looked troubled. Let me talk to Daniel. Get his side of this. Marcus met with Daniel and Amanda later that day. I wasn't invited to the conversation. They apparently needed to discuss me without me present, as if I were a problem to be solved rather than a person involved in my own life. Marcus called me that evening. Mama, I talked to them. Amanda has a whole list of concerns. She says you've been having falls, forgetting to eat, getting lost driving to familiar places. She's very convincing." "Marcus, none of that is true. I haven't fallen. I eat regularly. I haven't gotten lost." "I believe you, but Mama, Amanda has Daniel completely convinced. And she's emotional about it, crying, saying how worried she is, saying she feels responsible because she's the one who checks on you most often. She barely visits me. Marcus, she's lying and manipulating Daniel, and I don't understand why. I'm going to do some investigating. There has to be a reason she's doing this." Over the next week, Marcus talked to my neighbors, my friends from church, my doctor. Everyone confirmed the same thing. I was healthy, active, competent, managing my life well with no signs of cognitive decline or physical deterioration. Marcus also discovered something else. He talked to Daniel's coworker, who mentioned that Amanda had been telling people at Daniel's workplace that caring for me was putting enormous strain on their family, that they were overwhelmed with the burden of my declining health. But Daniel wasn't caring for me. He visited occasionally, but I took care of myself. Marcus came back to me with his findings. "Mama, I think I know what's happening. I did some digging into Amanda's background. She has a pattern." "What kind of pattern?" "Her first marriage ended badly. She'd convinced her ex-husband that his mother needed to be in a nursing home, pushed him to sell his mother's house and use the proceeds for the nursing home costs. Except the mother didn't need a nursing home. Amanda wanted the money from the house sale." I felt sick. "You think Amanda wants my house?" "I think Amanda sees your property as an asset. Your house is worth about $400,000. If she can convince Daniel you need a nursing home and convince him to sell your house to pay for it, that money becomes part of their marital assets." "But I don't need a nursing home. And even if I did, I have long-term care insurance and savings. I wouldn't need to sell my house." "Amanda doesn't want you to use your insurance and savings. She wants access to the house sale money." "Mama, she's been systematically building a case that you're incompetent, so Daniel will agree to take over your finances and sell your property." The cruelty of it was breathtaking. Amanda was willing to destroy my reputation, steal my independence, and put me in a facility I didn't need, all to get her hands on money from selling my home. What do I do, Marcus? We confront them with evidence. We prove that you're completely competent, that Amanda has been lying, and we make Daniel see what his wife is really doing. We scheduled a family meeting. Marcus, Daniel, Amanda, and I sat in my living room on a Sunday afternoon. Marcus began, "We're here because there's been a serious misunderstanding about Mama's health and capabilities. Daniel, Amanda has been telling you things about Mama that aren't true." "I'm not making anything up," Amanda said immediately. "I've been documenting Anne's decline for months." "Really? Because I've spent the past week talking to everyone in Mama's life, and not one person has observed any decline. Her doctor says she's in excellent health for her age, with no cognitive impairment. Her neighbors say she's active and independent. Her friends say she's as sharp as ever." Daniel looked at Amanda, confused. "But you said—" "I said what I've observed," Amanda insisted. "Anne puts on a good face for other people, but I'm the one who's here regularly. I'm the one who sees what really happens." "Except you're not here regularly," I said quietly. "Amanda, you visit maybe once a month. You're not taking care of me. You're not burdened by my health. You've been lying." "I'm not lying. Daniel, she's having memory issues. She doesn't remember my visits." Marcus pulled out documentation. "I have statements from 3 neighbors who keep track of visitors because of a neighborhood watch program. Amanda has visited Mama's house 6 times in the past 6 months. Not weekly like she's been claiming, 6 times total." "And the incident about the stove being left on," I added. "Amanda claims she found it on when she stopped by, but I was at a doctor's appointment that day. I have the appointment record. I wasn't even home. If the stove was on, Amanda turned it on herself." Daniel's face had gone pale. "Amanda, what's going on?" "Your family is ganging up on me. Daniel, I've been trying to help, trying to do what's best for Anne." No, you've been trying to convince me I'm incompetent so Daniel would agree to put me in a nursing home and sell my house, I said. My voice shook, but I pushed forward. Marcus found out about your first marriage. About how you did the same thing to your ex-husband's mother. Amanda stood up abruptly. This is insane. I'm not going to sit here and be accused. Sit down, Amanda, Daniel said, his voice hard. Explain to me why my mother's neighbors have logs showing you rarely visit when you've been telling me you're here constantly. Explain why her doctor says she's completely healthy when you've been telling me she's declining. Explain the coincidence that the stove was supposedly left on when Mom wasn't even home. Amanda's face crumpled. I was trying to protect our future. Daniel, your mother is sitting on $400,000 in property value while we're drowning in debt. Our kids need college funds. We're behind on the mortgage. So you decided to convince me my mother was senile so I'd sell her house and give you the money? It would have gone to you anyway eventually. I was just accelerating the timeline. The room fell silent. Even Amanda seemed shocked by what she just admitted. Daniel's voice was deadly quiet. You were willing to put my mother in a nursing home she doesn't need, to take away her independence, to make her believe she was losing her mind for money? We need that money. Get out. Daniel, get out of this house now. Amanda left, and Daniel sat on my couch with his head in his hands. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so incredibly sorry. I believed her. I thought you were declining, and I didn't even verify it myself. I just accepted what Amanda told me and started planning to take away your independence. I sat beside him, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe fully. Daniel, I understand why you believed her. She's your wife. You trusted her. But I should have talked to you, really talked to you, not just asked patronizing questions looking for signs of incompetence. Mom, you must have been terrified. I was, I admitted, and my voice broke. Daniel, I was so scared. The thought of losing my home, my independence, of being put somewhere against my will, it was the most frightening thing I've ever experienced. For the first time in my life, I felt truly old. Not just in years, but in the way you were looking at me, like I was no longer a person, but a problem. Daniel put his arm around me. I'm so sorry. You're not a problem. You're my mother, and you're doing amazingly well, and I should have seen that instead of looking for reasons to doubt you. I think I understand something now that I never did before, I said softly. I understand how hard aging really is. Not the physical part, that I expected, but the emotional part. The fear that people will stop seeing you as capable, that they'll start making decisions for you, that you'll lose control over your own life. Daniel, that fear is worse than any physical decline. You shouldn't have to live with that fear, especially not from your own family. Marcus spoke up. Daniel, what are you going to do about Amanda? I'm filing for divorce. What she did, attempting to defraud Mom, lying to me for months, being willing to institutionalize someone who doesn't need it, that's not something I can forgive or move past. Over the following months, Daniel and Amanda divorced. The proceedings were ugly. Amanda tried to claim she'd been acting in my best interests, but the documented evidence of her lies and her admission that she wanted access to my property value destroyed her credibility. Daniel moved into a smaller apartment, closer to me. He started visiting regularly again, not to check up on me, but to spend time with me. Our relationship slowly healed, though it would never be quite the same. There would always be the memory of those months when he doubted my competence, when he'd been willing to take away my independence based on lies. But we were rebuilding, learning to communicate more directly, to verify information instead of accepting it blindly, to respect each other's autonomy. One Sunday evening, about a year after everything had been resolved, Daniel and I were having dinner together when he said, "Mom, I want you to know something. I will never again make decisions about your life without talking to you first. There ever comes a time when you genuinely need more help, we'll discuss it together. You'll be part of the decision, not a victim of it. Thank you, Daniel. That means everything to me. And I want you to know you're doing great. You're healthy, independent, sharp. I'm proud of how you're managing your life, and I'm sorry I ever made you doubt that. I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. We got through it. That's what matters. Now, if you're listening to this story, if you're an older person who's been made to feel incompetent or burdensome, if someone has questioned your ability to manage your own life, or if you're the adult child of an aging parent and you're struggling with how to balance concern with respect, I need you to hear this. Aging is not a weakness, and no one has the right to weaponize it. Elderly people deserve dignity, truth, and compassion. Real family protects each other instead of manipulating vulnerabilities. Getting older doesn't mean losing your right to autonomy. It doesn't mean other people get to make decisions for you without your input. It doesn't mean you stop being a full person deserving of respect. Here's what you should understand if you're facing a similar situation. First, if you're the aging parent, trust your own perception of your capabilities. If you know you're managing well, don't let others convince you otherwise. Document your competence if necessary. Get medical evaluations, keep records, prove your capability. Second, if someone is claiming you're declining, verify with objective sources. Talk to your doctor, get cognitive testing, show evidence that contradicts false claims. Third, if family members are making plans without including you, insist on being part of the conversation. Your life, your decisions. Don't accept being managed like a child. Fourth, if you suspect someone has ulterior motives, investigate. Often, attempts to declare someone incompetent are motivated by financial gain or desire for control. And if you're the adult child, please talk directly with your parent before believing secondhand reports of decline. Verify information. Include your parent in all discussions about their care. Respect their autonomy for as long as possible. The fear of losing independence is one of the deepest fears of aging. Don't add to that fear by treating capable people as incompetent. Will there come a time when many of us need more help? Yes. Will some people genuinely develop conditions that require assisted living? Of course. But those decisions should be made with honesty, with medical backing, with the person's full participation, not through manipulation and lies designed to serve someone else's agenda. I almost lost my home and my independence because my daughter-in-law wanted my property value. She was willing to institutionalize me, to make me believe I was losing my mind, to steal my autonomy, all for money. But I fought back. I proved my competence. I exposed her lies, and I kept my home and my independence. I'm still here, in the house I've lived in for 47 years. Still driving, still managing my life, still sharp and capable. And I learned something profound through this experience. Aging is hard, not because of physical decline, but because of how the world starts treating you. The loss of respect, the loss of belief in your capabilities, the constant questioning of your judgment, that's what makes aging difficult. Somewhere in Charleston, there's a 72-year-old woman who almost lost everything because someone decided she was too old to manage her own life, who fought to prove her competence, exposed manipulation, and reclaimed her right to independence, who still lives in her own home on her own terms with her dignity intact. You can do the same if you need to. Don't let anyone convince you that age equals incompetence. Don't let anyone make decisions about your life without including you. Don't let fear of being a burden prevent you from standing up for yourself. You deserve dignity. You deserve respect. You deserve to live your life with autonomy for as long as you're capable. And if you're capable, and you probably are, insist that others recognize that capability. Age is just a number. Competence is what matters. Stand strong. Prove yourself if necessary. Demand respect. Your independence is worth fighting for, even when, especially when, others decide it's easier to take it away than to respect it. You are not too old to manage your own life. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.